The massive alien ship floated silently through space, its crystal hull catching the light from the distant yellow star. Captain Zixthoric stood on the bridge, his forearms moving across the control panels with practiced ease. His species, the Veltari, had been exploring the galaxy for over 1,000 years, and he had seen more death worlds than most captains would see in 10 lifetimes. "Captain, we are approaching the third planet," said Dr. Kethmara, the ship's chief biologist. Her blue skin shimmered as she spoke, a sign of excitement among her people. "The readings are very strange." Zixthoric moved to the main screen and studied the planet below. It was mostly blue and green, with white swirls of clouds spinning around it. At first glance, it looked almost peaceful, but the computer readings told a different story. "The atmosphere is dangerous," reported the science officer, a tall creature with 6 eyes. "It contains oxygen at levels that would be toxic to most species. The weather patterns are violent. We are detecting storms that could destroy entire cities." "What about the water?" asked the captain. "Liquid water covers most of the surface," Kethmara replied, "but it moves constantly. Giant waves crash against the land. The temperature changes are extreme. In some places, the water turns to solid ice. In others, it becomes burning vapor." Zixthoric nodded grimly. This was clearly a Category 9 death world, one of the most dangerous types of planets in the galaxy. Any life that survived here would be desperate, violent, and barely alive. Such worlds usually had small populations of survivors hiding in underground bunkers or caves. "Sir, we are detecting signs of intelligent life," the communications officer announced. "But the readings don't make sense." "Explain," ordered the captain. "The energy signatures suggest a large population spread across the entire planet. They seem to be living on the surface, not underground, and they appear to be active during both day and night cycles." Dr. Kethmara's skin turned a deeper shade of blue. "That's impossible. No species could survive on the surface of a world this hostile. The radiation from their star alone should force them into deep shelters." "Perhaps their technology is more advanced than we thought," suggested the captain. "Deathworld species sometimes develop impressive defensive systems." The ship moved closer to the planet. As they entered the atmosphere, the crew could see the surface more clearly. What they saw confused them even more. Instead of the barren wasteland they expected, they saw green forests, blue oceans, and what appeared to be large settlements scattered everywhere. "Captain, I'm picking up a single life form in the area below," reported the scanner operator. "It appears to be alone and unprotected." Zixthoric studied the readings. "A survivor separated from their group. This is perfect for first contact. A lone individual will be easier to approach and study." The ship landed quietly in a clearing surrounded by tall trees. Through the viewing screen, they could see their target, a bipedal creature sitting beside a small fire. The creature appeared to be completely relaxed, showing no signs of fear or defensive behavior. "Look at those conditions," whispered Dr. Kethmara. "The temperature is below freezing. There are predator sounds in the distance. The ground is covered with frozen water. How is that creature still alive?" "Maybe it's dying," suggested the communications officer. "That would explain why it's not moving." Captain Zixthoric activated the ship's translation systems and opened a communication channel. "Greetings, survivor. We come in peace. Do you require assistance?" The creature looked up at the ship without any sign of panic. Instead, it raised one of its appendages in what appeared to be a friendly gesture. "Hey there. Beautiful night, isn't it?" The bridge fell silent. The alien crew exchanged confused glances. "Did it just call this hostile environment beautiful?" asked the science officer. The creature continued speaking. "I'm Jake Morrison. Are you folks from around here? I haven't seen a ship like that before." Dr. Kethmara ran quick scans on the creature. "Captain, this is impossible. The being's vital signs are completely normal. It shows no signs of stress, malnutrition, or disease. In fact, it appears to be in excellent health." Jake stood up and brushed snow off his clothing. "You're welcome to come down and join me. I was just making some hot chocolate. The fire's nice and warm. It's inviting us to share its fire, said the captain slowly. In all my years of Deathworld contact, I've never seen behavior like this. The communications officer looked puzzled. Sir, what is hot chocolate? I don't know, replied Zixthoric. But we need to investigate. Prepare an away team. Full environmental suits. 20 minutes later, 4 members of the crew stepped out of the ship wearing heavy protective gear. The air was thin and cold, and their equipment detected dangerous levels of radiation and atmospheric toxins. Yet the human creature stood there wearing what appeared to be minimal protection. Welcome to Yellowstone, Jake called out cheerfully. Pretty amazing place, isn't it? Dr. Kethmara approached carefully, her scanner beeping warnings about the hostile environment. How are you surviving these conditions without protective equipment? Jake looked confused. What do you mean? It's a bit chilly, but not too bad. For March, actually, this is pretty mild weather for this time of year. Mild? The science officer checked his readings again. The temperature is well below the freezing point of water. The atmospheric pressure should be crushing your internal organs. The radiation levels are dangerous. Jake laughed, a sound that made the aliens step back in alarm. Oh, you must be from somewhere really different. This is just normal weather for Wyoming. Gets a lot colder in the winter. It gets worse than this? Whispered the communications officer. Jake poured a steaming liquid from a metal container into a cup. Here, try some hot chocolate. It'll warm you right up. He offered the cup to Dr. Kethmara. The biologist scanned the liquid with her instruments. It contains compounds that would be toxic to most species. Caffeine, theobromine, and other alkaloids. It's just cocoa, milk, and a little sugar, Jake explained. My grandmother's recipe. She used to make it for me when I was camping as a kid. You brought younglings to this death world? Asked the captain, horrified. Kids love camping, Jake replied. There's nothing quite like sleeping under the stars, hearing the wolves howl, watching the geysers go off. Really connects you with nature. The aliens looked at each other in growing confusion. This creature was describing what sounded like a death trap, as if it were a pleasant vacation. The wolves, said Dr. Kethmara carefully. Are they dangerous predators? Well, they're wild animals, so you have to be respectful, Jake said. But they're beautiful creatures. There's a pack that lives about 2 miles from here. I've been watching them for years. The alpha female just had cubs last spring. And you're not afraid of them? Jake shrugged. They're just doing their thing. As long as you don't bother them, they'll leave you alone, most of the time. The science officers. Equipment detected movement in the forest around them. Captain, I'm reading multiple large life forms approaching our position. Jake looked in the direction of the readings and smiled. Oh, that's probably just some elk. They like to graze in this area at night, magnificent animals. The bulls can weigh over 700 pounds. 700 pounds of what? Asked the captain. Elk. They're like really big deer. The males have huge antlers that they use for fighting during mating season. You should see them when they're competing for mates. The sound they make carries for miles. Dr. Kethmara realized her hands were shaking. This creature is describing predators and megafauna as if they were harmless garden creatures. A loud, rumbling sound echoed across the landscape. The alien crew immediately went into defensive positions, weapons ready. Jake looked up at the sky and grinned. Right on time, Old Faithful's about to blow. You picked a perfect night for this. In the distance, a massive column of boiling water and steam shot hundreds of feet into the air. The aliens watched in terror as the geyser erupted with enough force to kill anything standing too close to it. That's beautiful, Jake said, watching the display. Never gets old, no matter how many times you see it. Captain Zixthoric realized that everything they thought they knew about Deathworld survival was wrong. This human creature wasn't just surviving on this hostile planet, it was enjoying itself. Dr. Kethmara could not sleep. For 3 days, she had been studying the biological data from Jake Morrison, and nothing made sense. Every test result broke the basic rules of life that she had learned in her 200 years of scientific study. She called Captain Zixthoric to her laboratory. Sir, you need to see this. The human's biology is impossible. The captain entered the lab where dozens of screens showed test results and biological scans. What did you find? Everything, Kethmara replied, her blue skin dark with confusion. Look at this. The human has forward-facing eyes, like a predator, but it also has flat teeth for eating plants. It has long legs for running, but also hands that can grip tools. It's like evolution couldn't decide what this creature should be. She pulled up another screen. The muscle structure is even stranger. Humans can run for hours without stopping. They can also lift heavy objects and climb vertical surfaces. Most species can do one or two of these things well. Humans seem to do everything at a basic level. Perhaps they are generalists, suggested the captain. Some species adapt to fill many roles. No, sir. That's not the strange part. Kethmara switched to a new display. The strange part is what they can survive. Look at these readings. The screen showed a human female in what appeared to be a liquid environment. She was moving through the water without breathing apparatus, surrounded by creatures that looked like they belonged in a nightmare. This is Lisa Chun, Kethmara explained. She's a marine biologist. She studies life in Earth's oceans. Watch this. The video showed Lisa diving deeper into the water. The pressure readings on the screen climbed higher and higher. At this depth, the pressure should crush her bones, Kethmara said. But look at her vital signs. She's completely normal. Lisa swam toward a crack in the ocean floor where superheated water poured out. Steam and chemicals that would dissolve most organic materials filled the water around her. She reached into the poisonous cloud and pulled out a small creature. She's collecting samples of life forms that live in boiling, toxic water, Kethmara continued, and she's doing it for fun. She calls it recreational diving. Captain Zixthoric stared at the screen. She's doing this by choice? Yes, sir, and it gets worse. The next video showed humans consuming various substances. One human drank a dark liquid that made him more alert and active. Another ate small red fruits that caused visible pain but seemed to enjoy the experience. A third human consumed a clear liquid that made him act strangely and lose coordination. They deliberately poisoned themselves, Kethmara said. This substance is ethanol. It's toxic to most life forms. But humans drink it at social gatherings. They call it alcohol. Why would they do that? For pleasure, sir. They seem to enjoy the effects of mild poisoning. The captain's crystalline structure flickered with disbelief. Show me more. Kethmara activated another screen. This is even more disturbing. They expose themselves to radiation from their star. Look. The image showed dozens of humans lying on light-colored sand next to a large body of water. Their skin was changing color from exposure to solar radiation. Some were already showing signs of radiation burns. They're dying, whispered the captain. No, sir. They're enjoying themselves. They call this sunbathing. Many humans do this regularly. They believe it makes them more attractive to potential mates. They're deliberately damaging their bodies to appeal to others? Yes, sir. And they have developed ways to make the radiation exposure even more intense. They use reflective surfaces to increase the amount of solar radiation hitting their skin. The captain sat down heavily. What else? They have something called vaccination, Kethmara said, pulling up medical records. They deliberately infect themselves with diseases. What? They take small amounts of dangerous pathogens and inject them into their bodies. The theory is that this makes them stronger against future infections. That's insane. No species would risk infection on purpose. Humans don't just risk it, sir. They require it. Their young must receive multiple vaccinations or they are not allowed to attend learning centers. The captain stood up and paced around the lab. This can't be right. No species could evolve such reckless behavior on a death world. There's more. Sir, Kethmara showed him video footage of humans engaged in various activities. They have something called extreme sports. The first video showed a human jumping from a high cliff with only a piece of fabric attached to his back. The second showed humans throwing themselves from aircraft and falling toward the ground at deadly speeds before deploying parachutes at the last moment. They jump from high places for entertainment, Kethmara said. This activity serves no survival purpose. It provides no food, no shelter, no protection. They do it purely for the sensation of nearly dying. The next video showed humans climbing up the sides of steep rock faces using only their hands and feet. Others were sliding down snow-covered mountains on pieces of equipment that offered no protection from impact. Rock climbing, skiing, snowboarding, bungee jumping, skydiving, Kethmara listed the activities. They have dozens of ways to put themselves in mortal danger for fun. Captain Zix stopped pacing. Are they trying to kill themselves? I don't think so, sir. They seem to enjoy the risk. They call it getting an adrenaline rush. What's adrenaline? A chemical their bodies produce when they think they're about to die. Most species produce this chemical as a warning to avoid danger. Humans produce it and then seek out more dangerous situations to produce more of it. The captain stared at the screen showing humans engaged in various death-defying activities. This is beyond my understanding. What kind of world produces beings that seek out danger? A world that's trying to kill them every day, Kethmara replied. I think humans have become so used to living with constant danger that they don't recognize it anymore. She showed him more footage of daily human activities. Children playing outside in areas with no shelter or protection. Adults working in tall buildings that could collapse in earthquakes. Families living near mountains that spewed lava and toxic gases. They build their cities in the most dangerous locations possible, she explained. Near fault lines on flood. Plains next to active volcanoes. When disasters strike, they rebuild in the exact same locations. Why? Because they think those places are beautiful. The captain looked at satellite images of human settlements. Major cities were built on the edges of oceans that could produce massive waves. Others were located in areas where violent storms occurred regularly. Some were positioned directly on top of geological fault lines. They're not just surviving on this death world, he said slowly. They're embracing it. Dr. Kethmara nodded. That's what I think too, sir. But there's something else. Something that might be even more important. She pulled up biological scans of multiple humans. Look at their stress hormones. In any other species living on a death world, we would expect to see constant elevation of stress chemicals. Signs of fear, anxiety, and survival pressure. And human stress levels are normal. In fact, they're lower than many species living on paradise worlds. It's as if this dangerous environment doesn't stress them at all. The captain studied the data. How is that possible? I have a theory, sir. I think humans have evolved past the point where they see their environment as dangerous. They've become so adapted to living with constant threats that they've learned to find beauty and pleasure in situations that would terrify other species. That's impossible. Is it, sir? Look at the evidence. They swim in crushing depths for fun. They climb mountains that could kill them with one mistake. They eat foods that are toxic to most life forms. They expose themselves to radiation because they think it looks good. The captain was quiet for a long moment. What are you saying? I'm saying that humans might represent a completely new type of evolution, sir. They haven't just adapted to survive on their death world. They've adapted to thrive on it. They've turned survival into an art form. Dr. Kethmara switched off the screens and looked at the captain. Sir, I don't think we're dealing with a typical death world species. I think we're dealing with something that has never existed before in the galaxy. What do you recommend? Extended study, sir. We need to understand how this is possible. Because if humans can do this, it changes everything we think we know about evolution and survival. The captain nodded slowly. Agreed, but I want you to be very careful. If these humans are as dangerous as they seem, we need to approach them with extreme caution. Sir, I don't think they're dangerous to us. Why not? Because they don't seem to realize how dangerous they are to themselves. The alarm on the alien ship started ringing at dawn. Captain Zixthoric rushed to the bridge where his crew was watching the main screen with expressions of shock and confusion. "What's happening?" he demanded. "There's a fire, sir," reported the communications officer. "A large section of the forest is burning. The local human settlement is sending people toward the flames." On the screen, they could see massive orange flames rising from the trees. Thick black smoke filled the air. The heat readings were so high that they would kill most species instantly. But instead of running away from the fire, humans were moving toward it. "They must be fleeing in panic," suggested Dr. Kethmara. "Even humans can't survive in those conditions." "No, sir," the scanner operator said. "They're organized. They have vehicles and equipment. They're going into the fire on purpose." "Captain," Zixthoric ordered the ship to move closer. As they watched, they saw humans wearing protective suits running directly into the burning forest. The heat readings showed temperatures that would melt most metals. "Sir, I'm detecting one human who seems to be leading the group," the communications officer said. "Should we make contact?" "Yes, but stay at a safe distance." The alien crew watched in amazement as a human male directed other humans who were spraying water on the flames. He was standing closer to the fire than anyone else, apparently unafraid of the deadly heat. "Greetings," Captain Zixthoric said, through the communication system. "Are you in need of assistance?" The human looked up at the ship without surprise. "Hey there, I'm Danny Rodriguez, Colorado Fire Department. Thanks for asking, but we've got this under control." "You're going into the fire voluntarily?" asked Dr. Kethmara. "That's my job," Danny replied, adjusting his helmet. "House fire about 2 miles in. Family might be trapped inside." "You're risking your life for strangers?" Danny looked confused by the question. "Well, yeah, that's what firefighters do. Someone calls for help, we go help." The alien crew watched as Danny and his team disappeared into the flames. Their equipment showed that the humans were walking through temperatures that would kill most galactic species in seconds. "This is impossible," whispered the science officer. "They're not just surviving in that environment. They're working in it." 30 minutes later, Danny and his team emerged from the fire. They were carrying 2 small humans and leading 2 adult humans to safety. All the rescued humans were alive and relatively unharmed. "Got him," Danny reported cheerfully. "The Johnsons are fine. Little smoke inhalation, but they'll be okay. You went into a deadly fire to save people you don't know?" Dr. Kethmara asked. "Of course," Danny said. "They're people. That's what we do." The alien crew exchanged glances. This behavior made no sense according to any survival theory they knew. "How long have you been doing this?" Captain Zixthoric asked. 15 years, Danny replied. "My dad was a firefighter too, and my grandfather. It's kind of a family tradition." "Your family voluntarily enters deadly situations?" Danny laughed. "I guess you could put it that way. But we don't think of it as deadly, we think of it as helping people." After the fire was contained, the alien crew requested permission to study human emergency response behavior. Danny agreed to show them around the fire station and explain how human emergency services worked. "We have firefighters for fires," Danny explained, police for crime, paramedics for medical emergencies, search and rescue for people lost in dangerous places. "And people choose to do these dangerous jobs?" asked Dr. Kethmara. "Some of us are volunteers," Danny said. "We don't even get paid. We just do it because it's the right thing to do." The aliens were shown equipment designed to help humans survive in deadly environments. Fire suits that let them walk through flames. Breathing apparatus that let them work in toxic smoke. Vehicles designed to drive through floods and storms. "You've created technology specifically to help you enter dangerous situations," observed the captain. "That's the point," Danny said. "If someone needs help, we need to be able to get to them no matter where they are or what's happening." The alien crew was introduced to more humans who worked in emergency services. Amy Taylor was a search and rescue coordinator who specialized in finding people lost in mountains during winter storms. Her job was to go into blizzards and avalanche zones to find people who were trapped or injured. Last month, we had a family of hikers get caught in a snowstorm, Amy explained. They were stuck on a mountain for 3 days. The temperature was 40 degrees below zero. The wind was strong enough to knock you down. And you went to find them? Of course. We took a team of 12 people up the mountain. It took us 2 days, but we found them and brought them home safely. You risked 12 lives to save a few? Amy looked at them like they had asked a stupid question. We don't think of it as risking lives. We think of it as saving lives. The aliens learned that humans had created entire systems devoted to helping other humans in dangerous situations. Coast Guard rescues people from stormy oceans. Mountain rescue teams climb dangerous peaks to help injured climbers. Cave rescue teams go into underground spaces to save people who get lost or trapped. Why do you do this? Dr. Kethmara asked Amy. What do you gain from risking your life for strangers? Amy thought for a moment. I guess it's hard to explain. When someone needs help, you help them. It's just what people do, but you could be killed. So could they? Amy replied. That's why they need help. The alien crew attended a training session where new volunteers learned search and rescue techniques. They watched humans practice entering dangerous environments and helping injured people. The training was voluntary and the humans seemed to enjoy it. They're teaching themselves to be more effective at entering dangerous situations, the science officer observed. It's not about the danger, explained the instructor, a man named Pete Martinez. It's about the people who need help. The danger is just something we have to deal with to reach them. Dr. Kethmara studied the human volunteers. Their stress levels are normal. They're not afraid of what they're learning to do. Should we be afraid? Asked one of the students. Most species would be terrified of deliberately entering life-threatening situations, Kethmara replied. But if we're afraid, we can't help. People effectively, Pete said, fear makes you make mistakes. People who need rescue don't have time for us to make mistakes. The aliens observed that humans had turned overcoming fear into a skill that could be taught and learned. They practiced staying calm in dangerous situations. They worked in teams to support each other. They used technology and training to reduce risks while still accepting that some danger would always exist. They've created a culture around helping others, Captain Zixthoric said to his crew. Not just accepting danger, but using it as an opportunity to demonstrate their best qualities. Sir, I'm detecting something else, the communications officer said. There's a major storm system approaching the area. Local weather services are warning people to take shelter. On the screen, they could see a massive storm cloud formation approaching. The winds were strong enough to destroy buildings. The rain was heavy enough to cause flooding. Lightning was striking the ground repeatedly. The humans will surely flee. From this, Dr. Kethmara said, but as they watched, they saw something that shocked them even more. Instead of running away, some humans were driving toward the storm. They had special vehicles and equipment designed to survive in severe weather. Storm chasers, Danny explained when they asked. They study severe weather to help us predict and prepare for it. They go into storms voluntarily? Some people do it for science, Danny said. Others do it because they think storms are beautiful. The alien crew watched as humans deliberately drove into conditions that would be classified as uninhabitable by galactic standards. They collected data, took pictures, and seemed to be enjoying themselves. They find beauty in something that could kill them, Dr. Kethmara said quietly. I think that's the key, Captain Zixthoric replied. They don't see these things as threats to be avoided. They see them as challenges to be met or experiences to be enjoyed. As the storm passed, the alien crew saw humans emerging from their shelters to check on their neighbors. People who had lost power shared generators. Those with food cooked meals for those who couldn't. Children played in the puddles left by the storm. They're not just surviving, the captain realized. They're taking care of each other. Amy Taylor explained what she called community response. When bad things happen, people come together, we share what we have, we help each other rebuild. We make sure everyone is okay, Even people you don't know? Especially people we don't know, Amy said. Neighbors help neighbors. That's how communities work. The aliens realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that had not only adapted to survive on a death world, but had developed a culture based on helping others survive it too. Sir, Dr. Kethmara said to the captain, I don't think we're observing normal death world behavior. What do you mean? Most death world species become selfish and paranoid. They hoard resources and avoid risks. But humans do the opposite. They share resources and take risks to help others. That makes no evolutionary sense. Unless, Dr. Kethmara said slowly, helping others is actually their survival strategy. Captain Zixthoric was preparing his preliminary report when the ship's alert system activated again. This time, it wasn't a fire or storm. It was something that defied all logic. Sir, we're detecting a human driving directly into a tornado. The scanner operator reported on the main screen. They could see a massive spinning column of wind tearing across the landscape. The tornado was destroying everything in its path. Trees, buildings, and vehicles were being lifted into the air and thrown for miles. In the middle of this chaos, a single human vehicle was racing toward the storm. It must be an accident, Dr. Kethmara said. The human is probably trying to escape and going the wrong direction. No, sir, the communications officer replied. The human is transmitting data. It appears to be intentional. Captain Zixthoric ordered communication to be opened with the vehicle. Human driver, you are heading directly into a deadly weather phenomenon. Change course immediately. A cheerful voice responded. Thanks for the warning, but I'm exactly where I need to be. This is Greg Williams, Storm Chaser. I'm collecting wind speed data and atmospheric pressure readings. You are in mortal danger. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point, Greg replied. The best data comes from inside the storm. You can't understand a tornado by watching it from far away. The alien. Crew watched in horror as Greg's vehicle drove into the edge of the tornado. The wind speeds were strong enough to pick up buildings. The debris flying through the air could slice through metal. Yet Greg continued transmitting data and seemed excited about what he was experiencing. This is incredible, Greg's voice came through the radio. Wind speeds are hitting 200 miles per hour. The pressure drop is amazing. You should see the structure of this thing from the inside. He's describing a force that could kill him as if it were beautiful, Dr. Kethmara whispered. When Greg emerged from the tornado 20 minutes later, his vehicle was damaged, but he was unharmed. He immediately began uploading his data to something he called the National Weather Service. Why do you do this? Captain Zixthoric asked when they met Greg later. Knowledge, Greg replied simply. Every storm teaches us something new. The more we understand about severe weather, the better we can predict it. Better predictions save lives. You risk your life to save the lives of strangers? I risk my life to understand nature, Greg corrected. The life-saving part is just a bonus. The alien crew realized they were encountering another impossible human trait. These beings deliberately put themselves in danger not for immediate survival benefits, but for abstract concepts like knowledge and understanding. Greg showed them video footage of other storm chasers, humans who drove into hurricanes, studied volcanic eruptions, and flew aircraft into the middle of severe weather systems. They all had the same goal, to understand the dangerous forces of their world. Your species studies danger instead of avoiding it, observed the science officer. How else would we learn about it? Greg asked. You can't understand something by running away from it. The next human they encountered challenged their understanding even further. Susan Parker worked at something called a children's hospital. Her job was to care for the smallest and most vulnerable members of human society. In any rational death world society, resources would be conserved for the strongest members. Dr. Kethmara explained to her team, the weak would be abandoned to improve the chances of species survival. But Susan's hospital was filled with humans, dedicating enormous amounts of time, energy, and resources to helping children who were sick or injured. The medical technology was advanced, the care was intensive, and no expense was spared. Why do you spend so much on the weakest members of your society? Dr. Kethmara asked Susan. Susan looked shocked by the question. Because they're children. They deserve the best care we can give them, but that they contribute nothing to survival. They consume resources without providing benefits. They're not supposed to provide benefits, Susan replied. They're supposed to be children. They play, they learn, they grow up to be adults who can take care of the next generation of children. The alien crew toured the hospital and saw resources being used that could support entire colonies on other worlds. Advanced medical equipment, specialized staff, comfortable rooms, and even areas designed purely for entertainment and play. You have recreation areas and a medical facility, the captain observed. Kids need to play, Susan explained. Even when they're sick, they're still kids. Play helps them heal. The aliens watched children who were recovering from serious illnesses. Instead of being quiet and afraid, they were laughing, playing games, and making art. Adults who weren't related to them were spending time entertaining them and making them feel better. These adults gain nothing from helping these children, Dr. Kethmara noted. They gain the satisfaction of helping, Susan said, and the children gain hope and happiness. That's more valuable than anything else. The alien crew attended what humans called a Little League baseball game. Children as young as 6 years old were playing organized sports in an open field with no defensive positions or protection from potential threats. This is extremely dangerous, the science officer observed. The younglings are completely exposed. Parents sat on benches watching their offspring run around in the open, apparently unconcerned about the lack of security. When one child fell and scraped his knee, multiple adults rushed to help him. Even though he wasn't their own child, the game's coach, Pete Martinez, explained the purpose of the activity. We're teaching them teamwork, fair play, and how to handle both winning and losing. You're teaching them to be vulnerable, Dr. Kethmara said. We're teaching them to be good people, Pete corrected. Sports teach kids that they can work together to achieve goals. They learn that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, but either way, you respect your opponents and do your best. What survival advantage does this provide? Pete thought about the question. I guess it teaches them that they can depend on their teammates and that their teammates can depend on them. That's pretty important for survival, isn't it? The aliens watched as children who had just been competing against each other lined up to shake hands and congratulate each other on a good game. Winners and losers treated each other with equal respect. They're teaching their young to cooperate even with competitors, Captain Zixthoric observed. It's called sportsmanship, Pete explained. The game is fun, but how you play is more important than whether you win. Dr. Kethmara ran scans on the children and adults at the game. Their stress levels are extremely low. They're treating this competitive activity as entertainment. Because it is entertainment, Pete said. It's also exercise, social development, and character building, but mostly it's fun. The alien crew discovered that humans had created entire industries devoted to entertainment, art, and culture. They had museums filled with objects that served no survival purpose but were considered beautiful or historically important. They had theaters where humans performed stories for other humans to watch. They had concerts where humans made organized sounds that other humans enjoyed listening to. You waste enormous amounts of energy on activities that provide no survival benefit, a science officer said to a human musician named Kevin Brown. Music isn't waste, Kevin replied. Music makes life worth living. How does organized sound help with survival? It doesn't help with survival, Kevin said. It helps with living. There's a difference. The aliens attended a concert where hundreds of humans gathered to listen to organized sounds. The humans showed visible emotional responses to the music. Some cried, others smiled. Many moved their bodies in rhythm with the sounds. They're having emotional reactions to atmospheric vibrations, Dr. Kethmara observed. It's called music, Kevin explained. It expresses feelings that are hard to put into words. It connects people to each other and to experiences that matter. To them, after the concert, the alien crew watched humans discussing what they had heard. They shared their emotional reactions and connected the music to memories and feelings from their own lives. They use organized sound to process emotions and create social bonds, Captain Zixthoric realized. Music brings people together, Kevin said. It helps us understand each other and feel less alone. The aliens discovered that humans created art, literature, dance, and theater for similar reasons. These activities served no direct survival purpose, but they seemed to make humans happier and more connected to each other. They have created an entire civilization based on making life enjoyable rather than simply surviving, Dr. Kethmara told the captain. How is that possible on a death world? I think that's the key, sir. They've made their death world into something that isn't a death world anymore. They've changed the entire nature of survival. As they prepared to write their report, the alien crew realized they had witnessed something that shouldn't exist according to everything they knew about evolution and survival. Humans had somehow transcended the basic rules of death world existence. They don't just survive, Captain Zixthoric said. They thrive. They create beauty, they help each other, they find joy in dangerous situations, and they dedicate enormous resources to activities that serve no survival purpose. Because for humans, survival isn't the goal. Captain Zixthoric sat in his private quarters staring at the blank report screen. For 2 weeks, he had been trying to write a summary of their findings about Earth and its human inhabitants. Every time he started, the words seemed impossible. To believe, how could he tell the Galactic Council that everything they knew about Death World survival was wrong? Dr. Kethmara entered his quarters carrying a thick stack of data recordings. Sir, I've finished compiling all our observations. The evidence is overwhelming, but I'm not sure anyone will believe it. Show me what you have, the captain said. Kethmara activated the room's display screen. We documented 847 individual examples of humans engaging in behavior that contradicts standard death world survival theory. They consistently choose cooperation over competition, curiosity over caution, and beauty over safety. The screen showed images from their time on Earth, humans diving into deep oceans, climbing dangerous mountains, running into burning buildings, and studying violent storms. In every case, the humans appeared calm, confident, and often happy. Look at their faces, Kethmara said. They're not afraid. They're not desperate. They're enjoying themselves. That's what makes this so hard to write, Captain Zixthoric replied. No species should be able to enjoy living on a Category 9 death world. Sir, I don't think Earth is a Category 9 death world anymore. The captain looked up sharply. What do you mean? I mean, humans have changed their planet. They've turned a hostile environment into something that supports their civilization. They haven't adapted to their death world. They've adapted their death world to them. Kethmara showed him satellite images of Earth taken from orbit. Look. At this, they've covered their planet with cities, roads, farms, and parks. They've redirected rivers, flattened mountains, and created artificial lakes. They've even changed the chemistry of their atmosphere. That's impossible. No species has the power to change an entire planet. Humans do, sir. And they've been doing it for thousands of years. They call it civilization. The captain studied the images. Earth no longer looked like the savage death world they had expected to find. It looked like a garden world that had been carefully shaped to support life. They've terraformed their own planet, he said quietly. Yes, sir. And they did it so gradually that they probably don't even realize they did it. Kethmara switched to another display showing human technology. They've built machines that let them survive in any environment on their planet. Vehicles for traveling through water, air, and space. Suits that protect them from fire, cold, and pressure. Medicines that cure diseases that would kill other species. But they still engage in dangerous activities. Because they no longer consider them dangerous, sir. To humans, climbing a mountain isn't a survival challenge. It's recreation. Swimming in the ocean isn't a desperate search for food, it's exercise and fun. The captain began to understand. They've made their death world into a playground. Exactly, sir. They've turned every challenge their planet presents into an opportunity for entertainment, learning, or personal growth. Dr. Kethmara showed him recordings of human children playing in environments that would terrify adult members of most galactic species. Kids building snow forts in sub-zero temperatures, swimming in lakes that could drown them, and climbing trees that could break their necks if they fell. They teach their young to see danger as fun, she explained. Human children learn to take risks in safe ways. By the time they're adults, they're not afraid of their environment, they're masters of it. What about their culture? The captain asked. The art, music, and sports we observed? That's the most important part, sir. Humans don't just survive on their planet. They've created reasons to want to live there. They've made life beautiful. Kethmara showed him images of human art galleries, concert halls, and theaters. Most Deathworld species focus all their energy on basic survival. Humans have so much extra energy that they use it to create beauty and meaning. How is that possible? Because they solved the survival problem a long time ago, sir. They learned to work together so effectively that they can support massive populations without anyone going hungry. They have enough food, shelter, and safety to spend time on things that make life enjoyable instead of just possible. The captain looked at population statistics that showed billions of humans living on Earth. No Deathworld should be able to support this many individuals. No unmodified Deathworld, Kethmara corrected, but humans modified theirs. They turned hostile environments into productive ones. They transformed their planet from something that was trying to kill them into something that helps them live. Captain Zixthoric stood up and paced around his quarters. If this is true, it changes everything we know about planetary classification, evolution, and civilization development. Yes, sir, it also explains why humans seem so strange to us. They're not a typical Deathworld species. They're something completely new. What do you recommend? Extended study, sir. We need to understand how humans achieve this transformation. If other species could learn their methods, it could change the future of galactic civilization. The captain sat down at his desk and began writing the report. The first section documented their initial contact with Jake Morrison and his casual attitude toward what the aliens considered deadly. Environmental conditions. The second section detailed Dr. Kethmara's biological findings, including human tolerance for toxins, radiation, and extreme physical conditions. It described human recreational activities that deliberately exposed them to mortal danger for the purpose of entertainment. The third section covered human emergency response behavior and their willingness to risk their lives to help strangers. It included detailed observations of firefighters, rescue workers, and medical personnel who regularly entered dangerous situations to help others. The fourth section documented human culture and their dedication of resources to activities that provided no direct survival benefit. Art, music, sports, and education were described as evidence of a species that had transcended basic survival needs. The final section presented their conclusions about human planetary modification and the transformation of Earth from a hostile Deathworld into a garden world that supported advanced civilization. Sir, Dr. Kethmara said as the captain finished writing, there's one more thing we should include. What's that? A warning, sir. If the Council decides to make contact with humanity as a whole, they need to understand what they're dealing with. Explain. Humans are not like other species, sir. They don't think like other species. They've achieved something that shouldn't be possible, and they did it by ignoring most of the rules that govern galactic civilization. Captain Zixthoric added a note to the report recommending extreme caution in any future dealings with humanity. Not because humans were dangerous to others, but because human ideas about what was possible might be dangerous to established galactic thinking. 3 days later, the report was transmitted to the Galactic Council headquarters. The response came back within hours. Report rejected. Please submit accurate data. Captain Zixthoric was not surprised. He sent a second message with all their video recordings, biological scans, and cultural observations attached. This is accurate data, he wrote. Recommend immediate scientific expedition to verify findings. The second response took longer to arrive. When it came, it authorized the establishment of a permanent research station in the Sol system and requested that Captain Zixthorak remain to oversee the extended study of humanity. 6 months later, the research station was operational with scientists from 12 different species working to understand human civilization. The station was located in Earth's asteroid belt, close enough to observe but far enough away to avoid interfering with human activities. Captain Zixthorak often visited Earth's surface to continue his observations. On one such visit, he found Jake Morrison at the same campsite where they had first met. Jake was teaching a group of young researchers from the alien station how to roast marshmallows over a campfire. "What do you think of our planet now?" Jake asked the alien scientists, a young Veltari researcher. Her crystalline structure flickering with wonder replied, "It's terrifying and beautiful at the same time." Jake smiled and looked up at the stars where the research station was orbiting. "Yeah, that's home. Scary as hell and absolutely gorgeous. Kind of like life itself, I guess." Captain Zixthorak realized that Jake had just summarized the essential human philosophy in one sentence. Humans had learned to find beauty in danger, meaning in struggle, and joy in uncertainty. They had turned the challenge of living on a death world into the foundation of a civilization based on curiosity, cooperation, and the pursuit of happiness. As he watched Jake and the young alien scientists laughing around the campfire, with wolves howling in the distance and geysers erupting nearby, Captain Zixthorak understood that his crew had discovered something unprecedented in galactic history. They had found a species that had learned to turn survival into an art form, danger into entertainment, and a hostile world into a home. They had found humanity, and humanity had changed everything.